Should show up in just a minute. Yep. Right. Good stuff. Right. Um, Hello, everyone. Craig Turner here, lead organizer of Revival Retro Events, and I'm just coming to you with an announcement here regarding the upcoming events and the future plans for Revival for 2020 and 2021. Now, the reason I'm doing this, and I'm kind of doing this ad hoc. I haven't really planned this out. I know I was going to do an announcement, but I just need to come on and inform you of the situation regarding Revival for this year and how we're going to progress. Everybody's been asking. During lockdown, we've had lots and lots of requests. As people know, we did the last major event before lockdown happened back in March, and we just about got away with holding that event, which everybody was a little bit unsure about it to start with because we kind of downsized for this year. And as it happened, even though I wasn't there, unfortunately missing it, it went down an absolute storm. It kind of went back to the roots of being more like a more personal community meet. It was a really, really social event. Everybody had a blast of a time, and even with a small venue, we still had over 800 people come over the weekend, which was phenomenal considering it was just like a free kind of run of the mill event, and it took no particular special effort. There's still a lot of effort goes in from the individual team members, but there's a lot goes into it behind the scenes. And anyway, it was our gift back to you. But yeah, obviously since then the world's gone a bit mad. COVID's took a hold, and regardless of what your feelings are on the situation, it is a game changer. The COVID-19 situation has become, a big problem for not just the UK, but for it's a worldwide issue. It's affecting gamers on levels, specifically because shipping has become difficult. It's changed the way we do a lot of things. And obviously, the biggest thing for a lot of us who mix on the social side of things is that it resulted in most of the summer being entirely cancelled. The summer season of events that a lot of the regulars always go to, there's got to be 500 to 1,000 people out there who regularly come to these things and always meet up, and they go to all the events and meet up with their buddies and have a good laugh and a drink and everything. And unfortunately, everybody's not been able to do that this summer. So the lasting memory a lot of people have got is actually of Revival 2020 Part 1, which we did in March. And I think everybody has been really looking forward to doing more. When it became evident that most of the summer had been cancelled, everybody, as was excited for, including myself. We were highly anticipating that summer would be kind of be a write-off, but by the time autumn rolled around, that things would be different, and that we'd be able to look at things again, and we'd be able to say, listen, let's finish the season off with another great dose of Revival on the 7th and 8th of November. Now, as I did say early on, we need to play it by ear. I did intend to put the tickets for part 2 on sale immediately after Revival 2020 Part 1. That was my intention, but then when lockdown took a hold, I thought it would be unwise to do so. It's much worse to say to people, here's an event, and then cancel it and leave people in the lurch who booked hotels and paid for tickets and things like that, than it is to just say to people, listen, hang fire, or no, it's not happening at all. And so we made the conscious decision to just completely avoid talking about the event in public at all, apart from giving obviously the odd fluff piece mention. But yeah, we certainly avoided talking about our plans for the event, and we certainly avoided promoting it in any form because we genuinely didn't know what was going to happen. There's a lot of variables you have to look at when you're holding an event, a lot more than people give credit for. Now, I know some people are saying, well, so and so's going to hold an event, so and so's going to, so and so's going to hold an event, so and so says we're going to be doing this. Oh, it looks like this is going to happen the minute lockdown's lifted. On the event scene, you've got to bear in mind there's a lot more to it than that. You're not just dealing with interpersonal relationships, just your friends or just your immediate colleagues. You've got to deal with so many people you've got your own members of staff, your volunteers, your paid helpers. You've got to work with venues. You've got to work with suppliers, people who provide equipment like tables and staging stuff and AV equipment. You've got to work with outside volunteers. You've got to look at exhibitors who contribute, people who just come and bring equipment. You've got to look at catering. You've got to look at general members of the public. You've got to get a feel for a lot of things. There's a lot of variables go into it. So I made the decision that we wouldn't even talk about revival for the whole of the summer. But my inbox has been lighting up. The revival page itself has got a lot of messages. I've got Aaron thankfully vetting a lot of those for me. But the revival page itself has been lighting up. Members of the team keep being asked, and just recently, everybody has been personal messaging me through whatever method they can, saying we kind of need to know what's going on with November because we need to start planning if something's going on. Um, well, I can say now that I did say I would give it until the end of August. That would be my crunch point, and that's because for any event, you do need, even though it's a smaller event, even though we're seasoned vets and we know what we're doing, you need plenty of time to prep. And 3 months is kind of the bare minimum. You need 3 months to be able to build hype and get your sales, get your promises from people exhibiting and things like that. And we're now at that crunch time. It's the end of August. Our event will be the start of November. It basically gives us September and October to get everything rolling. So probably 10 weeks from now, it would have been happening. Um, Unfortunately, I've had to make the decision that we've got to cancel it. We just can't do November. We've spoken at length with a lot of people, primarily my own team. You've got to remember that Revival has never been done as a for-profit event. We run very close to the line and risk running to the red a lot. That is just the way it is. And if you want to do it as a hobbyist, you have to kind of accept that it's a big risk every time. And us doing the free event, we intended to make this a paid event, and it would have all balanced out. We took a hit on the one in March intentionally just to give something back. We planned to make this on a paid event just to make sure we at least broke even. The problem is with that is that I can only afford so many hits myself because it all comes out of my own pocket. And as far as the people go who work the event, the majority of the team, they come from all corners of the country. And you've got to bear in mind that they've all got their regular jobs, their own concerns, and things like that. If they don't feel comfortable doing an event and they feel like it's going to be a lot more effort than just something that can be casually enjoyed, they're not going to want to do it. And I've spoken to the team, and we were really pushing for it. Between ourselves, we've been talking about it, and we'd said several times we really want it to happen. Everybody was pissed that I missed March. I'm pissed that I missed March, and I haven't been able to go to any of my other conventions through the summer, which I was hoping to do. And I was really looking forward to November, and unfortunately, the faith from the team is pretty low. They all have their own concerns. Some of them are on the high risk list for COVID, and some of them would say it wouldn't even be possible for them to work it. Not only that, but the biggest issue is regarding how we actually staff and run the event. Um, Revival events are very, very social, right? It's all about playing the games, having a drink with your friends, having a laugh before and after the event, mixing, trading, swapping, buying and selling stuff from traders. Now, the government has intentionally delayed giving guidance on these things, and I was hoping that by this point they would provide the kind of information, well, not just provide information, but provide the kind of information that we all want to hear, which is lockdown is lifted, let's go for it. Okay, public faith would still be kind of low and you'd still be kind of playing with fire a little bit. But at least with that lift, people would then have the option to go whether they wanted to or not. And we would be able to have the freedom to at least run the event the way we need to. The conditions, however, that have been put in place have basically made it unworkable. And I'm just going to call up a file on my computer here because I'm going to talk to you about just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with and why it's so much of a pain. So Bear me 1 second. I'm just going to call up this image here. And this has been taken directly from the .gov.uk. Yeah, this has been taken directly from the .gov.uk page, and I'm going to tell you about some of the restrictions. So, if we were to host the events, these are the kind of problems we would have, right? Some of the conditions they were putting in place, right? Attendees would need to pre-book and pre-register to attend any kind of event. These are conditions, bear in mind, they've put in place just a week or two ago and said these would only be allowed, these are the conditions you're going to have to abide by if you want to run an event under the best circumstances, assuming there's no local lockdowns, if you want to run an event from the 1st of October. So it's pretty much on the cusp of it, you know what I mean? So attendees would need to pre-book and pre-register to attend. Well, as much as we depend a lot on pre-sales anyway, faith in that is going to be low, so people are going to be waiting until the last minute to try and buy, which is no way to try and run an event because you need the money from the ticket sales to help obviously pay for everything, and we need to book it all now with only 3 months to go. Contactless registration systems will need to be introduced at venues to reduce waiting times and limit contact between organisers and guests. Now, back in March, we already did away with the whole hand stamping thing, and we do use electronic ticket scanning as it is, but there's always problems with that. And with it being November, that's fine during summer when you can queue outside and have a chat and do what you want to do. During winter, when it's going to be, dark and damp and miserable, possibly snowing or freezing, no one wants to be hanging on a door while other people are pissing about trying to get their ticket scanned in. So that's something else you've got to think about. A digital first approach will be adopted to eliminate the need for physical badges and lanyards. That causes problems then. If we can't issue physical passes, wristbands or something like that, it's hard to monitor numbers inside buildings, who is where. It would take a massive amount of additional staffing, which we just don't have, in order to do that. We don't pay people. Everybody who does this is a volunteer. And it's a big ask of anybody to do that. Not only that, but putting themselves at risk in order to do it. Paper handouts and gifts will no longer be offered. Well, that comes into an additional thing that I've seen. When it comes to traders, basically they want you to host events that they're focusing heavily on conferences, and they're saying that any events that involve booths need to pre-book spaces to speak to people on there. You shouldn't be handing over stuff and transferring it. So they don't like the idea of you having traders. Traders would have to go to such lengths to do it. It wouldn't even be worth it, even if they would want to attend. Now, most of the traders I've spoken to, and I can tell you, they'd already written off this year anyway. To be able to try and get commitment from those guys now to try and come to an event in November, I might get one or two of the local boys, but it's a big risk. It's a big risk for them. They wouldn't make any sales, and it just wouldn't be worth it. Um, Entrance to the event or conference spaces would need to be staggered to reduce queuing, and overall capacity would be limited to ensure social distancing to be maintained. So you've got a picture, right? Revival is an event where you go to the door, everybody queues up in the morning. The doors open, we fly everybody in, we stamp their hands, off you go. Go and see your friends, go and shop, go and have a pint, go and sit in the cafe and talk shit while you eat a burger. You know what I mean? Do what you want to do. They basically want us to hold events like an IKEA queue. If you've been to any large superstore recently, you've got to queue outside. You got to use trolleys to separate yourselves. You've got to go in and keep 2 meter distancing. The freedom of our events is basically annihilated. Not only that, but the nature of what we do, everybody is picking up and picking up, having a 30-second game, moving on. They're inspecting and looking inside consoles. They're fixing things and trading things around. The conditions, it does go into a lot more detail, but they want one-way systems in place. Spaces between booths would need to be increased massively and aisles widened. With the small venues we've got, that'd just be crap. And they basically want you to clean equipment between uses. Now, could you really see that happening at a gaming event? It's a social thing as it is, and you wouldn't even be allowed to mix with anybody who's not from your household because you're under an enclosed space. Even if you were outdoors, it'd be extremely limited, but indoors, they want to invoke all these things. So what you'd basically doing is you'd be paying for a ticket to stand in a queue all day. You wouldn't be enjoying anything. You wouldn't be socialising with your friends. You wouldn't be having a game. You wouldn't be buying anything. They'd want us to monitor toilet usage. They'd want us to monitor absolutely everything, and it just wouldn't be fun. Now, Revival is a social event, and everybody has said that, like, when you look at this, right, it's asking a lot of us anyway. We don't do it for money, and it's not being snide by saying that. It's the fact that we wouldn't want to do something. Our payoff is seeing everybody enjoy the event, and for us being able to get together with our friends as well, and introduce new people to it. There'd be none of that because you wouldn't be able to have walk-ins off the street. You wouldn't be able to do. You wouldn't be able to do anything right. Now I know there has been a lot of talk of people dropping events this year anyway. When I talked about revising my plans for this year, it's because some of the smaller organisations have decided it was becoming too much effort. The demographic is shifting. I agree. I know that. And that was part of my reason for downsizing a little bit this year. Well, it didn't mean we were going everywhere. It was just a chance for me to stand back and take stock objectively of where the event scene is going and where the retro gaming hobby itself is going. And I was able to do that. This COVID thing was a blessing in disguise because it made me take even more time to step back and look at that. And annoyingly, there are still some arrogant people out there who are just like, right, the second events are back, we're going to be back, and we're going to do it regardless. Now, there's been a lot of arguments online regarding COVID. There's people talking about it being conspiracy. There's people who are over, super safe and conscious, put themselves in a bubble. I now sit somewhere in between. I'm on the at-risk list myself, and I isolated for the longest time. I've barely left the house in the last few months, and I'm glad I did because at the end of the day, it's not worth. Nothing is worth your health. When something major happens to you, like it did to me, you realise that nothing is worth your health, no matter how much you want it. And you've got to start thinking outside of yourself, right? If we were to hold this event, right, it doesn't matter whether you're the super safe people or whether you're the, I don't give a shit, it's nothing, I'm invincible type person. You wouldn't be able to please everybody. If we went ahead and did all these conditions, there would be people complaining that we aren't doing enough. There'd be people complaining other people aren't abiding by the rules and not masked up and everything. And then you get the other load of people who would say it was crap because the restrictions were too high because of COVID. You wouldn't be able to win. It would damage your reputation. It would damage the feel and the memories of the event. And it's just not worth us taking that hit. The whole reason I've done a video to talk to you about this is because when you just say to people we're not doing it, people make all kinds of assumptions. And yes, I do tend to talk a lot and become a lot more long-winded than I need to be. But when you're doing a more interpersonal thing like we are, and when you've looked at the scene that like I have, I realise that what we did in March is what people really want now. We like the regulars, we do like the public and regular people off the street, of course, as well. But we like to do this because it's a chance for us to indulge in our hobby. And if the soul of that show would be taken away by doing this, it's just not worth all that hassle and taking a bashing. We're not going to make any money on it. There's no point in doing it, but we're certainly not going to do it to take a loss just to please a few people. Now, some people might scoff at us. We might have the piss taken that we're being a bit soft on it. I'm of the feeling now that much of the risk has certainly decreased, but it certainly hasn't gone away. And I wouldn't want to put pressure on anybody to feel like they need to get involved in that. Now I know there are other events due to take place around ours, and I'm hoping that they would have the conscience enough to say that they won't hold their events either, because it's irresponsible to play with the public's lives and to play with your friends' lives by saying yes, we're just going to go ahead and do it because we need the money. You just don't do it. It's just not right. It's not what we're about, and we're not about to be pressured into it. So so now I've kind of got that out of the way. I know there's been a lot of comments, guys. I opened the chat thread up. I didn't know if anyone would even see this video until after I'd posted it up, but I've put it on anyway. I will read it back and address all your comments anyway. And please do put any suggestions you've got on there, because I'll be looking back and referring to this and probably doing a follow up at some point. So obviously now I've kind of got that out of the way. It's all a bit dull, and yes, it's disappointing. Nobody's more disappointed than me, believe me, me or the team. The guys so badly wanted this to happen. We had loads of cool little new things we were going to do, some funky link ups and little displays we were going to do. We were going to have the VR section back. You know, we were going to have a couple of guests and things like that. I mean, going into situations going forward, getting guests wouldn't be easy because trying to get people to commit in this current climate would be extremely difficult. Um, but yeah, we're gutted it's not going to happen, but we think it's the best choice. Now, the next question people are obviously asking is, so where do you go from here? And even the people who are being super cautious are saying to us, listen, that's great. That means you can just jump headfirst into it and you can go ahead and do a massive event next year, right? Well, no, that's not exactly the situation, and I'll just explain why. Because before anybody tries to get ahead of themselves, and I'm not asking people, I'm not telling people that we're kind of backing off on our standards or we're just kind of reducing our operations. The truth is, holding the big events takes a lot of planning. The size events that we do at the stadiums, they take 8 months, 10 months of planning, right? You've got to look at this COVID situation realistically, right? Right now, we had this hard lockdown, which was the first 3 months of lockdown. We anticipated that would be there. Then we thought there'd be a kind of soft lockdown where things ease up, and then towards end of autumn, going into winter, by Christmas, most of us thought this would be clean. If that was the situation, yes, that was our intention. We intended to scale back up next year and go big because it was obviously something that was feasible to do. Because we'd still have plenty of time to organise it, we would know what the situation is. As it happens, these sporadic regional lockdowns that are happening, the fact that we're getting spikes in certain countries, the way a lot of the political leaders are talking in different countries, I think they're expecting this to be a long term thing. You've got to think about the way the economy will be impacted. People won't be spending as much. Public faith in buying ahead will be low. You'll have the people who like rush out and buy everything, like the people who've rushed out and bought holidays and now find out they're having to quarantine when they go abroad. It's just like you'll have those people, but then the other people won't touch it with a barge pole. If we start organising a massive event for next summer now, or just before Christmas as we normally do, we're going to have like a soft lockdown period or a soft kind of fallout period post COVID of probably the first few months of next year, especially once the recession hits with the new financial year next year. Um, Planning anything huge involves getting commitments early, getting your guests booked early, getting your exhibitors booked early, getting your traders signed up and paid early, because all those bills have to be paid pretty early on. Your deposits for venues, your deposits for transport, all those things have to be covered early. If we tried to start organising a big event for next summer and it all went badly, it would leave a lot of people out of pocket, including ourselves, or it would mean us hosting an event we really wouldn't want to hold, and then we could never do another event again because our reputation would be destroyed. So we're not going to run that risk. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to see that. So it is our intention that we will do something next year. We do intend to come back. We're not going away. Um, and we are trying to pick it back up again, but we still need to play it by ear. But what I'm saying to you now is between now and Christmas and into the new year, I'm going to be taking suggestions. I want you to fire your suggestions to us. We may run a poll or two, but we do have ideas about what we want to do next year. These little events have been going really well. We could do these with very little prep. If people just want to see us back and have a nice social, we have the capacity to go larger again if we need to. And we may even have some bartering room with venues, so we can see how that goes. But it's going to depend a lot on what decisions are made, what government restrictions are put in place, and it's going to depend on what the feeling is going to be around guests and contributors and the team and everybody as to how we proceed. And there's no way we can even consider it now before Christmas unless a massive change is given on government advice which says, okay, COVID, we're done with it. But I can't realistically see that happening now. nobody, I don't think anybody thought we would be in the situation we're in right now. I thought everybody thought by now it would all be mostly swept under the carpet. I mean, I very early on, I wrote summer off till the end of August. Some people were thinking, summer would be salvageable. It's gone and it's still with us in a very real way. And as much as people are a bit less paranoid about it all now, the restrictions and the legal issues you've got to deal with are still in place. And you have to walk as slow as the slowest person. And that means that as long as there are people out there who are nervous about attending the events, as long as people are nervous about, wanting to be around too many other people, we've got to be realistic about what we plan. There's no point me over promising. I'm not one of these people who sensationalizes and over promises something we can't deliver on, because it's worse to let people down. I like to manage expectations, and that's what we've always done. Yes, we can't go as grand on some things as some of the events that have got a lot more money. Everybody knows that by now, but we always pull out what we can, and I don't want to oversell something that turns out to be rubbish. So you've just got to bear with us. We're not going anywhere because I've boxed clever with the plans for this year. That is the main reason we haven't just folded and said, look, that's it, we're done. Right? A lot of other smaller events have said we just can't hack it anymore, we're not doing it. Bear in mind, a lot of traders during this time are also going to sadly fold, because a lot of them will be feeling the pinch, especially the ones that haven't adapted much to the selling online, kind of standard. So it's going to be difficult to get everything signed up for this, and it's going to be a hard time for everybody, whether you're buying tickets, whether you're buying and selling stuff, whether you're providing equipment and plan to do something fancy. It's going to affect everybody, so you just got to bear with everybody and try not to be too disappointed. It's got to be more than about yourself, and for us, it's got to be more than about just what we need. So 2020, we've now written off. At least the one good thing that come out of this, we did manage to squeeze an event in there in March. That was something we never done before, and thankfully, the plans we made for this year meant that you all got a revival for this year, and I'm glad you all did, and I know people enjoyed it. I've had more comments after this one than I've got after some of the big ones, because people were just so happy to just go somewhere and just see their friends and just indulge in all the best bits of what they know. And yeah, people want to see the guests and things like that. We will try to bring all that back, but you've got to bear with us. You've got to bear with us, and everybody understands the situation. Right, so I'm just going to take a quick skim at the comments before I kind of sign off. So yeah, I see some comments here. People saying they really loved the March one. Some people saying they'd like to see smaller ones again next year. Yeah, I think it's definitely feasible. I'm not saying we're limited to only doing one event next year. Bear in mind, what I'm saying to you is the early part of the year is going to be extremely difficult, whatever happens. But the good news is with these smaller events, like I've said, we only need a couple of months prep time. So once we get the word that the door is open, we have the potential then to at least do a small one at low risk and get everybody back into the swing of things. And as long as that's early enough, we've got the potential to do it again before the year's out. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of talk amongst the team. There's going to be a lot of talk with our traders. There's going to be a lot of talk with our contributors about the direction they want to do. And yes, guys, I'd certainly like to look at doing other areas as well. Now, it will primarily be focused in the Midlands, admittedly, because that's where most of us are based. But we are going to try and look at new venues, and if we're going to do a new size event, then maybe we can start looking at new venues, because obviously if we're going to do something of a completely new size, we don't want to be compared to other events we've done, so I'm going to be looking at some new venues and some new ideas, and maybe even some new formats. I've teased the idea of mixing up the format a little bit from what we usually do, and even though our format works, we're trying to do a system that caters well to the collectors as well as kind of people looking for a day out, if you know what I mean. So we're toying with that idea at the moment. I'm not going to say much more about that, but that's kind of something we're looking at. So if you're just purely a collector, we'll try and sort something out there for you. Yeah, thanks for the offers, guys, of obviously putting out there you'd like to help. The more help we've got, the better. In recent years, quite a lot of people have fallen off the radar. A lot of people have joined us in that time. We always need more hands, and like some of our guys have stripped down the amount of kit they've got. We always need assistance with things like arcade machines, and it's not as difficult as you might think. When there's only one or two of you, it kills you. But it's like many hands make light work. When you've got a team of 6 to 8 people working the arcade machines and the tables and things like that, it flies out, and you get done in half the time. You're nowhere near as knackered, and at the end of the day, if you do come and you do properly help out, you come and muck in on setup day and teardown day, you will get to come in and enjoy the event for free. We always give that promise to people who help out, and at the end of the day, if you know how to set up a console, that's a massive help, because we can leave you with a box of equipment and say, listen, this is what we want out. Can you get it out there? We need you to run cables. We need you to check, the health and safety, make sure everything's plugged in properly, tape down, things like that. Any help you guys can give, um, we really want it. You know what I mean? Especially if you're local to us, local guys. If we need your help, because we're trying to represent for the Midlands as it is, and obviously you guys can be here a lot quicker. You can be here on setup days and teardown days, and that's when we really need the help. Staffing the event is no problem. Our main team have got a grasp for that. That's not a problem at all. But we always need help. Getting our traders in. The traders can get in a lot faster if there's extra pairs of hands. You might even get a chance to overlook some of their kit a lot earlier, like we do. That's how we get some of our cool equipment. But yeah, there's a lot of potentials, a lot of venues being suggested. Please do drop your comments on the responses to this video, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever. I will be re-uploading this video to the Revival YouTube page. I haven't got it linked to the YouTube page at the moment, but it's on the Revival page for now. And please do share it around. If you've got a podcast, if you've got a page, a gaming page, share this video. I will make it public, and just let people know what our plans are, and let them know we're not going anywhere. It'll stop us getting too many more messages. And in the meantime, if you've got any ideas about things you want to see at the events, what you want to do, we've already got some big plans anyway. It's a little bit of a shame actually, because we had some massive plans for next year. I can't even talk about them, but we had so many plans for next year, and we might have to postpone them a little bit. But we were talking about we were going all in on some things. So we've got some wicked ideas, but now we need something to kind of fill the gap, and we need some new contributors. We need more people to help us out, and you'll get a big kick out of it. We wouldn't have been doing it for this many years if we didn't enjoy it and it wasn't worth the hard work. So come along, see what's involved on this side of it. We're not going to have you jizz mopping. You're not going to be running doing crap stuff. You know what I mean? You're just going to be doing stuff that helps us out, and just getting to see a bit of what we see. And you get to a longer feeling for the weekend when you're there on the setup day as well. So, come along, check it out. But anyway, guys, so yeah, Revival 2020 Part 1, brilliant event. Part 2, now cancelled. Share, let people know. Revival will be back in 2021 in some form. We don't know what form yet, and we're going to take the rest of the year off now. We need we needed a break anyway. We needed to take some time out. This year was intended to be that between events, and as I mean, nobody could have predicted we're going to the world's first pandemic in 100 years. You know what I mean? And so it was kind of a blessing in disguise. So we've either got to deal with the devil, or it was conspiracy, or I don't know, something. But yeah, COVID has made us rethink things, and it's made everybody rethink the way they operate, the way people enjoy their hobbies, the way people do anything. And it's got to make us go back to the drawing board even more and rethink the way we go forward. Because I want to see Revival continue. A couple of times we've nearly stopped it, and I'm glad we didn't. And I don't think the event scene on retro games has run its course. I think it's going to continue to get better, maybe a bit more intimate at times, and we can deal with that. And I want everyone to keep enjoying it too. So yeah, so Revival is cancelled. I do apologise to those handful of people who I know were so keen they went ahead and booked hotels immediately after the first event. There's no way we could have predicted that, and obviously lockdown didn't come for another week and a half after our event, so Yeah, there's not a lot I can do about that, guys. I do apologise, but we'll try and make it sweeten the deal for everybody when they do come back to us next year. And I pray that you do support us when we do come back. Not only that, but make sure you're supporting your retro gaming traders, the guys who always support the event, especially the local guys. You've got Nick at Vintage Gamer, you've got Jason at Get Gaming, you've got guys like Dana Meddings, you've got Alan McCluskey, you've got Lee at Sore Thumb, Retro GT. There's absolutely millions. I'm sorry, you got I can't even name them all. You've got Ants, you've all the guys. You've got to support them. Get online. A lot of them have reopened the shops. A lot of them have got online things going on. A lot of them have got plans. If you don't support those guys, those are the guys who are pivotal to events working. So you've got to support them and buy from them when you can. I'm hoping to do a video series following this on my Yam Yam Retro Gaming channel, talking about some of these guys again and doing a little bit of promotion to help those guys kind of gain some traction again. So if you do have a shop or you're a trader and you want to talk about things and maybe get on here with me, and or just have a little bit. It's going to be free plugs for you. I'm doing it for you, not for myself. And we're going to try and help keep everybody chugging along and enjoying the hobby as long as they can. I will post links on this site, and I'm sorry about this, guys, but you know my hands are tied, unfortunately. Hope to see you all next year, and I will be in contact with some of you about something, some idea I've got silently. You know who you are. Well, some of you know who you are. I'll be in contact with the rest of you. But in the meantime, if you want to get your retro gaming fix, you can do it at home. Please go to places like Arcade Club in Bury or in Leeds. Go to Retro Dome where my arcades live up in Barnsley. Those guys are back open and doing well. And go there, you know, in your small groups and your family groups. Support those guys. Make sure those guys stay in operation as well because those guys support what we do and we won't be able to do without that. So, but yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna let you go. It's the video I really resented having to do, but it's something I've got to do. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your year, guys. Stay safe. I hope none of you have been impacted too badly by this. And if anybody just wants to talk about it and talk about future plans or just shoot the shit regarding gaming, then drop me a message and I'll get back to you. But for now, guys, stay safe and I'll catch you soon.